Hi, it's Lamar Richardson, actor, producer of New York, New York, Death of a Salesman, and The Wiz. And I am watching Pop Culture with Pat, and I hope you are too. Stay tuned.
Guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I am so excited to be joined by today's guests. Today I am talking to Tony-nominated producer Lamar Richardson. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Lamar.
Hey, it's amazing, amazing honor to be here.
Hey, so first, a lot of things to talk about with you. To kind of, I guess, like start from the beginning, I wanted to ask you, so you're an actor, you're a producer. When did you realize that you wanted to be a storyteller? Where did that all kind of come from? What were some of your inspirations?
Yeah, so funny enough, as a kid, I was always a performer. I used to act in church productions. So during the holidays, we'd have Easter productions, Martin Luther King, Christmas, etc. And I'd always do plays as a child. And it was really always an artistic outlet. And it was never, me thinking that I would actually ever really go and be an actor per se. And that really all changed while I was in college at Columbia. I really fell in love with the experience of being in New York and being involved with the Black Theater Ensemble. And it really just dawned on me that I was in the right place to pursue it and to make it a reality for myself. And that's where I really decided to lean into it and press forward and pursue it.
Did you have any particular like people that were like specific influences on you or?
It's interesting growing up. I used to always watch soap operas with my grandmother. And, I would always be so immersed in the world, All My Children and Pine Valley and General Hospital, One Life to Live. And, I, subconsciously, now that I reflect back, I was always super just, ready for the next day to be able to dive into the story. And I used to always Jackson Montgomery on All My Children. I used to want to be a district attorney because I loved his character so much. And, now looking back, I was just really a fan of that actor's work and that performance and what he represented and symbolized. And I think that was really formative on my impressionable self at the time. And now I look back, I always think of, hey, I was always really immersed in storytelling and always surrounded by it, but never consciously thinking that I should be an actor myself.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My parents they're both fans of General Hospital. My mother, she's been watching the show for years now. So
Yeah, poor
it's definitely,
Charles.
yeah, same thing. That's for me, like growing up as a kid, that was something that was just on every single afternoon or whatever. I don't know if it was the afternoons like way back, but
Oh,
I know
yeah,
it's like
one
the
o'clock, two
afternoons
o'clock,
now.
and 3 o'clock. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. So because you started out acting and doing like theater, how did you transition from that to going to being a producer? Well, when did you realize that producing was something that you wanted to pursue?
So this has all happened in the past year.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah. So I've been pursuing my acting career for a decade now. And, along the way, colleagues and friends and, my wife ultimately always said, it's a time of the multi-hyphenate. You should really lean into other parts of the business. I know I don't write, I don't direct. So, you have the skill set to produce, you should produce. I was very resistant and said, I don't want to get into that. I'm an actor. I'm going down that path. But, after the pandemic, I really had a come to Jesus moment, so to say, and just realized that, my opportunities are very limited when I truly just rely on auditions leading to bookings and placing that control in the hands of others who would have to hire me as an actor. And I said, fine, I'll go for it. And I'll really just put myself out there. I did a fellowship over the past year, the Front Row Fellowship at Columbia University to really learn the nuts and bolts of producing. I've been working on an independent project as a producer, and then I've been doing producing on Broadway to get the full circle experience and, just the hands-on education of it all.
Oh yeah, because I mean it's certainly a lot that goes into it. And I guess speaking of that, what are some things being a producer that you've learned from someone? Because I feel like people outside of that world might kind of have preconceived notions of like what a producer might be. What are some things that you learned that you maybe you weren't aware of before you jumped into the field?
Producers are very hands-on. A lot of times people think of producers as just being suits and the ones to find the money or the financing for projects, but they're literally like emergency responders. All things that could go wrong with a production, producers are there to have to save the day. Whether that's finding a replacement at the last minute or building a new set or, anything that could happen, the producers are one on the phone or backstage or filling in. And it's really an all hands on deck mentality. And I think that that's not something that you often see being depicted, especially in the traditional sense and portrayal of a producer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like it's a lot of different positions and just like the entertainment field. People kind of think they have an idea of like what it is, but it's like really no, there's a lot more that goes into it than what a lot of people just, seem to think. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to kind of get the behind the scenes stories. It's like, no, I'm sure once you're working on a production or something, you're probably nonstop from the day that starts until the end of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it continues even when something is open or up. It's always evolving and changing, and from one headache to the next, but good headaches.
Yeah, I was say it must make it kind of like it makes it interesting and fun too, where it's always changing. You're not necessarily doing the same things, I imagine, on every single day or every single production. So that way you can kind of switch things up. So it's not like you're going in every day and you're like, well, I know I'm doing this today. It's like you walk in and you might have like a set list of things to do, but you never know what could possibly pop up.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment, and you never know what to expect, and I think that's what keeps it original, right? And it's exciting, and I think that for me, it feels natural. Like, it's funny. It's one of those things where for so long I was intimidated by it and hesitant to make the transition. And now that I'm in it, I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense for me based on how I work and how I operate.
So that I mean that's nice to kind of have that that feeling. And speaking of producing, Lamar, congratulations on your Tony Award nomination for New York, New York, especially considering where you said this has kind of all happened within the past year. So how did that project kind of come about for you in the first place?
Yeah, so my first show was Death of a Salesman this past fall. And then I was involved not as a producer, but as an investor in the piano lesson, which was also a revival this past fall. And basically, the producing team through which I was affiliated with, the opportunity for New York, New York came, and it was just kismet, really, because for me, this story was a no-brainer. It's literally my experience. I moved to New York from North Carolina to go to school. Through that going to school experience, I then decided to become an artist and to pursue that full on. And that's literally my journey. And I felt so personally connected to the story because, New York City is the Big Apple where, you can literally make your dreams a reality. And it's not cliche. It's literally the experience that I'm living right now.
Yeah, so it's a very seems like a very like personal project, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, has it, because this is like all fairly recent, has it really hit you yet? And what was your reaction when first found out about the nomination?
No, it's no. It hasn't hit me yet. I'm going through all the motions and I see all the things and read everything, but it's just it's surreal. You spend so much time on one thing, and then all of a sudden you pivot, and then success comes so quickly in that new regard. So it's just a lot to process.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say it's something where like you said, it's been all within like the past year that some people go throughout their whole careers and don't necessarily find this level of success, and to have this come so quickly, I imagine it must have been all kinds of crazy for you.
yeah, it's interesting, right? And I remember watching the nominations being announced on CBS that morning, and literally just like screaming because I mean, never in a million years would I have ever imagined this for myself. Or, I mean, you can't make this up. You can't make this up.
No, man. Well, hey, just enjoy it. Congratulations on again. That's it. It's awesome to have that success so early on in your journey as being a producer. So, when it comes to, and this is kind of like a general question, I guess, like when it comes to determining if you want to serve as a producer on a project, are there certain things that you kind of like look for in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's several buckets, you right? I have to be personally interested in it for different reasons, whether I have a personal connection to the story, an affinity for it, or I'm all about representation and diversity and inclusion, and is it furthering that narrative? That's one side of it. Then there's the financial aspect of it, right? Because for Broadway especially, a lot of it is raising money via investors. So is it going to be a quote unquote good investment? Can I really picture it doing okay or doing well or doing extremely well given the current market and all things considered? So I have to think of it as a business thing as I go out to people to have to raise money for it. And then aside from that, it's just like it's like an intuition. You either it either speaks to you or it doesn't. It grabs you or it doesn't.
Yeah, just
And
something that you feel like the project, it just feels, has that feeling. You know when something that you want to be connected to it.
yeah, because oftentimes I get invited to a lot of different things now to see, and something could be amazing, and I'll just know that I'm not the right producer for it, but it's amazing, and I know it'll do well, but it just doesn't speak to me.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that makes sense. Now, what, having been in this role for, you said, like about like a year, what's something that you know now as a producer that you wish you maybe would have known when you had first gotten into the field?
As a producer or as an actor?
Um, yeah, you could do both.
As an actor, that is not personal. I'm very clear now that if you don't get a part, it's not necessarily about your talent or anything. It could literally be your fit, your height. Someone had a favor they had to get to someone else. There's a lot of things that happen at a high level that you will never be privy to as an actor. And my eyes have been extremely open in that regard. And then in terms of being a producer, it's kind of I didn't really realize that once you come in, people quickly become aware of you, and then you're like on a list and you're invited to the party. So your people approach you all the time with new projects.
Yeah,
That's been something to, because as an actor, you're always waiting for something to come, but as a producer, people are always knocking on the door.
coming to you. Yeah, so it's like almost like completely different. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, as an actor, I can totally understand that, and that's something that, because I mean, I feel it's kind of natural as like human beings to, like, if you don't get something, you're like, okay, like what did I do wrong? I must have like messed up somewhere, and just to not take things so personal and just kind of go with the flow and enjoy like the process, I guess, too.
right.
So, having success as both an actor and a producer, is there anything else that you would like to tackle in the entertainment field? I know you kind of mentioned in the beginning, like, you're not like writing or directing or anything like that, but have you thought about getting into any of those fields as well? Or
At the moment, no. Who's to know where things will go down the line? But I think for now, it's about me finding the synergy between the two. So now that I'm producing on Broadway actively and I'm getting acclaim and recognition in that regard, I now want to legitimize my actor through my producer vehicle to be able to do both.
I would say that, Lamar, I have a feeling that you're probably going to be pretty busy, over the next like several years. So I don't know if you'll necessarily have the time to be able to take on any more. But like you said, hey, I mean, you've done well in both of these avenues so far. So who knows what's to come down the line.
Exactly. And I'm open to receiving whatever comes my way.
And so one of your next projects too is the Broadway Spring 2004 revival of The Wiz. Very well known name. What attracted you to that project, and I don't know if like how much you can really speak on it, but what can people expect from this iteration?
I mean, that it's the Wiz. It's multi-generational. I mean, it's literally embedded within our culture. Everyone knows it. Everyone's excited by it, and it's, as a Black producer, I just felt literally a responsibility to help usher this classic back to the Broadway stage. And I think that it's going to be revamped and fresh, and it's going to be a new revival for a new day, and Amber Ruffin and the entire team, they're working together and really doing some wonderful things with it. And I'm excited for what everyone will see shortly.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's always cool when you can take these timeless stories and just like update them for modern like audiences. So can't
Yeah.
wait to see what you guys end up doing with that. Well, Lamar, to wrap things up, is there anything else that you want to say just about to the fans, and then about like any of your other like future projects like coming up as well?
Yeah, I just really want to encourage, anyone who's watching who is an artist of any kind. I just really want to lean into the fact that if you have a burning unquestionable desire to pursue your artistry in this field, don't let anyone discourage you from straying away. It might not happen the way you expect it to or look the way you think it will, but what's for you will find you. And as cliche as it sounds, I truly mean it. Never in a million years would I have ever expected to be in this position now. And I think that the Lamar that started this pursuit 10 years ago is extremely proud of where I've landed. And I think that people should use that to fuel themselves. You know, be encouraged, stay the course. Don't take no for an answer. It's hard, it's not easy, it's arduous, but your path will reveal itself before you. And I really want to just impart that with people and encourage and inspire people to keep hope alive.
Oh yeah, no, and your story is very inspiring, Lamar. So I mean, it's something that they say great things don't often necessarily don't come easy. So again, congratulations on all your success. Congratulations again on the nomination. As far as like social media, where people can keep up to date with like your projects, are you on like Instagram, Twitter,
Yeah.
anything like that?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram at Lamar Richardson _ and then on Twitter at Lamar _ Alfonso with a PH, and then Lamar Richardson on Facebook.
Perfect. Well, hey, Lamar, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on here, talk a little bit about your career and some of the projects that you're working on. I really appreciate it, and you're welcome back anytime in the future.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, and I would absolutely love to. And I hope everyone continues to tune in to Pop Culture with Pat. Hi, it's Lamar Richardson, actor, producer of New York, New York, Death of a Salesman, and The Wiz. And I am watching Pop Culture with Pat, and I hope you are too. Stay tuned.